The Innovators Network.
Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Welcome to this week's Innovation. We are in the mobile studio on the road. I don't know about you, but it seems that around every corner is a barrier to innovation. This is more than just someone in your organization in the role of an innovation antibody. Barriers can take on many forms, from real barriers like a lack of equipment or funding to the self-imposed, such as a fear of failure. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the barriers to innovation. We'll be exploring why they exist, how they can be identified, and how you can break them down. We'll also discuss the benefits of successfully breaking down barriers to innovation. But before we jump into this week's episode, got that favor to ask: follow, like, and share. Follow us on social media. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Medium, wherever you can think we would be, we're there. So follow us, like us, give us a 5-star rating. It helps other people find the show. And give us feedback. Post a comment wherever you get your podcast. We will track it down and we will read your feedback. Or you can send us feedback directly via email. And then share. If there's somebody in your organization who you think would benefit from today's episode, send them a link. You can get the links over at killerinnovations.com or over at theinnovators.network. And with that, let's hop into this week's episode.
This episode is sponsored by Zoom. With Zoom, you can streamline your communication, collaboration, and creativity all in one place. Zoom is the market-leading platform that provides video meetings, voice, webinars, and chat across desktops, phones, tablets, and conference room systems. To learn more about Zoom and sign up for your free account, visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom.
Breaking down barriers to innovation is a vital concept for fostering creativity and making progress. Innovative thinking is needed to develop new ideas, products, and services that can help improve the world we live in. As such, it is important to understand why breaking down barriers to innovation is so important and how to go about doing it. So, what is a barrier to innovation? In essence, a barrier is anything that stands in the way of achieving an innovative goal or idea. These barriers can come in many different forms, such as physical objects, regulations and policies, cultural norms, lack of resources, and even beliefs. Some barriers are real, some are perceptions, and some are self-imposed. It is important to understand the difference between a real barrier and a perceived one, as this will help us determine how best to tackle it. So how do you overcome a barrier to innovation? Breaking down barriers to innovate is a critical step in fostering the overall process of execution. By recognizing the different types of barriers and developing strategies for overcoming them, organizations can create an environment where innovative thinking is encouraged and even celebrated. Ultimately, breaking down these barriers will open up opportunities for growth and success. Well, what are the types of barriers? Let's talk about breaking down the barriers to innovate is essential for turning creative ideas into reality. You got to break them down. Physical objects, regulations, and policies are some of the most common barriers hindering. For example, a lack of resources or equipment could limit production capabilities, thus making it difficult to bring an innovative product or service to market. Similarly, certain regulations and policies may restrict certain areas of innovation due to safety concerns or industry standards. Cultural norms and beliefs can also be a major barrier to innovation. Certain cultures may be resistant to change than others, meaning that ideas that are considered revolutionary can be seen as too risky or inappropriate in these contexts. Furthermore, beliefs such as fear of failure can lead people away from taking risks or even trying out the new concepts. The lack of time and motivation can also be a huge barrier when it comes to innovating. Ideas often require research and development before they come to fruition, which can take days, months, or sometimes even years depending on the complexity of the idea. Without the necessary motivation needed for this process, ideas may languish instead of being taken any further. And finally, financial constraints can often stand in the way of executing innovative ideas. Developing complex products requires significant capital investment that many may not have access to without external partners or funding sources, whether that be from the budget within large organizations or outside investors. This means that even if individuals has an innovative idea, they may not have the means to implement it without additional help. There are many different types of barriers that can negatively impact innovation if not addressed properly. Finding ways around these issues is critical for turning an idea into a tangible result, whether they be products or services. So, individuals and businesses alike need to seek out ways to break down these barriers when they confront them. That's needed in order to foster progress and advancement within the idea, having the impact of the idea executed. To overcome barriers, you need to first identify them and then develop strategies for removing them. So, identify and remove. This can involve developing processes or tools that make it easier to work around obstacles, creating an environment where creative solutions are embraced, and investing in resources that can help reduce the time spent tackling some of these barriers. So let's look at the barriers grouped into real, perceived, or self-imposed. Real barriers to innovation. Real barriers are those that exist in the physical world. These can include a lack of resources and equipment, regulations or policies that restrict certain areas of innovation due to safety concerns or industry standards, and financial constraints. For example, a lack of resources and equipment could limit the ability to produce anything. You may not have access to the factory, therefore, it becomes very difficult to bring a new product or service to market. Similarly, certain regulations and policies may restrict certain areas due to regulatory, such as the Food and Drug Administration for new drugs. And cultural norms and beliefs can also be a major barrier to innovation. Across the world, cultures differ, and with that difference comes a range of attitudes to change. Some may embrace it wholeheartedly, others may prefer slower transitions in order to preserve existing practices. So, when revolutionary ideas come into play, these societies are faced with an important dilemma: take risks or stay safe. It's something we should all be aware of, as one size rarely fits all, especially when it comes to innovation. Furthermore, financial constraints can often stand in the way of executing innovative ideas. One of the best ways to overcome real barriers to innovation is through process improvement, and that includes the innovation process, having a process to take ideas and make them real. This can involve implementing new technologies or procedures that streamline your innovation operations, as well as creating systems that make it easier for teams to work around obstacles, a process to secure funding, a process to secure access to the factories. For example, automation and robotics can replace manual labor, reducing the time needed to complete tasks. Can you use robots to free up time in the factories in order to be able to put more experiments through the factory? Additionally, investing in resources and technologies that give teams the tools needed for their endeavors, tools that allow them to use social media to announce the new idea, the way to run tests, the way to collect data from users, All of that requires some form of process and tools. A common approach to addressing the financial constraints is to use a stage gate funding model, where ideas are funded at each stage of development. This can help ensure that resources are only used when there's a high degree of certainty that the idea or product will be successful. So let's talk about perceived barriers to innovation. Perceptions-based barriers refer to how do people view a situation, which can influence how they tackle it. They most commonly come from long-held beliefs, assumptions, and norms. For example, many people think that innovation is only for technology-based companies, when in fact it's an important factor for any business looking to stay competitive and grow its customer base. Another common barrier is leaders acting as innovation antibodies. It is important for people in an innovation to be open-minded about the potential of a new idea or concept. If everyone has a set way of looking at something, there may be little room for creative thinking. The key to overcoming perceived barrier innovation is to challenge how things have always been done. This means questioning the status quo and challenging long-held beliefs or assumptions. Giving the team explicit permission to think outside the box and consider alternative solutions is a good way to open up creative thinking. Additionally, creating an environment where failure is not seen as a negative, but as an opportunity to learn and improve, can also help foster an innovative mindset. So, what about self-imposed barriers to innovation? Self-imposed are those related specifically to individual attitudes towards innovating. This apprehension may hinder people unwilling to take risks when trying out new creative solutions. Some individuals may suffer from imposter syndrome, where they believe they are not qualified enough for the task at hand, which can prevent them from taking action even if they have an idea worth pursuing. Understanding one's mental roadblocks are key to breaking through these self-imposed barriers, so that truly innovative solutions can be found and developed with success. Beliefs such as the fear of failure can lead people away from taking risks and trying out new concepts, while lack of time and motivation can often hinder progress if individuals do not have the incentives to continue working on their idea. These psychological factors must be addressed for individuals to effectively break down these barriers. To overcome perceived barriers to innovation, people need to tackle their fear of failure and find the motivation to keep working on their ideas. While some of this is personal, organizations can also support their employees by providing resources and guidance to ensure each idea is given a fair chance to succeed. Additionally, providing incentives such as rewards or recognition can help motivate individuals and create a culture of innovation within the organization. This will not only make it easier for people to take risks, but also give them reasons to keep pushing through failure and experimentation until they achieve success. Now, in conclusion, barriers to innovation can prevent individuals and organizations from reaching their potential. It is important to acknowledge the existence of these barriers and create strategies to overcome them. The potential benefits that may be achieved by breaking down barriers to innovation success are significant. First, if a business can innovate effectively, it can set itself apart from competition, build its brand, and create a stronger customer base. This could lead to increased revenue, market share, overall success of the organization. In addition, innovation can lead to the development of new products and services that are beneficial to society. And lastly, fostering an innovative culture within organizations can help create a more positive work environment for employees, allowing them to feel empowered and valued. Ultimately, breaking down barriers to innovation is an essential part of business success and social progress. Taking the time to identify where the barriers lie and finding effective strategies to break them down is key to unlocking a world of potential. So which of the barriers is the one that you run into most often? One that I've seen across pretty much all organizations is finance and equipment. Finance from the standpoint of funding. It costs money. People, time, money. People is an expense. Time, it's taking away from something else. So there's an expense associated with that. And then money, the direct dollars to move the innovation forward. Many organizations don't think about funding strategies appropriately when it comes to innovation. It's always a budget scramble in order to get the funding. And I am not a believer in that as the solution to this barrier. There needs to be a long-term strategy, a long-term way to prevent this barrier from ever appearing. So that is one that I've seen over and over and over again. The next is equipment. In some cases, if you're building physical goods, like laptops in my case, having access to the factory, having access to parts suppliers, etc., becomes critical if you're going to turn an idea into something real. But within an organization, they tend to focus on what generates the revenue, not some new experiment. And so therefore you never get priority to physically get access to the right equipment for you to be able to create your innovation. The other is, particularly with new people coming in or new people to your organization, it is the self-imposed, the fear of failure, the imposter syndrome, the lack of innovation, confidence. But that is something that people learn through experience, giving them exposure, creating a culture of innovation, creating a culture that actually embraces failure, doesn't penalize, or failure is not punitive. So I think those being the two buckets that are most ones I come across, that's my thoughts. Love to hear your thoughts. What are the barriers that you have run into? And what has been your strategy that successfully allowed you to get around those barriers to deliver an innovation that had huge impact? I'd love to hear from you. You can post it over onto the social media or just drop me an email, phil@killerinnovations.com. Or if you get the weekly newsletter, all you need to do in your email application is to hit reply, and that will come back directly to me. Hey, with that, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Time is the most valuable resource we all have, and prioritizing how we spend that time determines between being just going through life or having success. And I do appreciate you prioritizing listening to the podcast. With that, I'm going to sign off for this week, but keep working on your ideas. Don't let them go stale. Don't let the barriers get in the way. Find those strategies, get around those barriers, and bring that idea out and have an impact on the world. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.
This show is distributed by the Innovators Network. For more information and other great shows and content, visit theinnovators.network.